Hi, I'm Aidan Rodley and this is Mainland Matters. Great to have your company this week as we take the chance to review last weekend's Riccarton meeting. Unfortunately a little bit rain affected, but boy, didn't we see some really good racing. Running of the Group 3 Coca-Cola Canterbury Gold Cup taken out by Times Ticking, and also the running of the listed New Zealand Bloodstock War Step Stakes taken out by Shizakon. Let's review all that, plus a few of the undercard races, and plus get you a bit of news leading into this week's meetings out of the south, coming to us from Timaru on Thursday and Wingatui on the Sunday. But first of all, let's take in the running of that Canterbury Gold Cup, and we find Times Ticking back here on the inside as we pick them up around about the 650 metre mark. I'm sure it wasn't really the place Jake Lowry wanted to be. There were certainly advantages in being out wider at Riccarton this weekend, but Times Ticking very quickly shoots through. This is a 400 metre mark and he's gone up to take the front at this point. Out wide of Vernon Mee in his last race was giving a little bit of cheek. We wish him all the very best in retirement as well. And a really nice run through the middle, just on the inside of Vernon Mee from Capo dell'Impero, who closed off nicely. 200 metres out, and at this point, Times Ticking has gone clear. And geez, he's a tough on heavy going too. That's his 7th win in 11 starts on heavy tracks. Big time Capo dell'Impero. Lightning Jack into third, a good run. And right down the outside, Platinum Invader to pip Vernon Mee for that fourth money. Spoke to Albie McGregor this morning. Of course, Times Ticking still based down there with Albie's son Dean. He will head north though for his next start. He'll head to Wanganui for the listed AGC training stakes there in early June. Albie said he's come through the race in terrific order, licked his bowl clean, and he'll drop back to the 1600 metres with a little bit of a freshen up. But a really good performance, as we said again, from Times Ticking. Capo dell'Impero really good in the closing splits as well. Ran that equal quickest last 200 of the race. Times Ticking the quickest last 8.64 and 2. Despite having to go back along the inside to make the run. So that's the wrap of the big one there, the Canterbury Gold Cup. Next one we're going to look at is the War Step Stakes. I'm going to take you all the way back here. This is a long way from home, about the 800 metre mark, because we're looking well back in the field here for Shizakon. But I also want to really put the highlight on the horse in the Elsdon Park colours, the Libertania colours here in Luella Christina. Luella Christina just coming 5 wide at this point. Just look, she goes down on her nose about here. So just keep an eye on her there. Wow, that is some sort of effort to pick herself up and run into second, only beaten half a length from Luella Christina. You can see out wider in the track, now brought to one from the outside. Shizakon under Kylie Williams, goes up and very quickly hits the front. She goes up to Luella Christina, who fights back bravely just on the inside. These two come away from Elmanet, who's running third, around about 5.5 lengths away, beaten 6 lengths. So not a bad run there. You can see Betty Spaghetti, who's out wider on the track, doing a good job too. And the two horses back on the inside are Stolen Decree and Doddle, who had led up. But these two come well clear in the end. Shizakon beating home Luella Christina in what was a really good edition of the War Step Stakes. Now, a couple of things out of that as well. We'll see that Shizakon, there was suggestions that maybe they'll be looking towards a Queensland Oaks. Speaking with Kelvin Tyler this morning, they're just not so sure. It's a 36-hour float ride from their base in Riverton to get up to Auckland, to fly to Sydney, to float to Brisbane. So you can see just the logistical exercise to do that is a pretty big effort. And outside as well, there's also been decent interest in Shizakon from Australian interest, so she could end up being sold over to Australia as well. The other thing out of that War Step Stakes is that Luella Christina, prepared by Stephen Marsh, with her second placing after running so close in the previous week in the NZB Air Freight Stakes, picks up the South Island filly of the Year series that's sponsored by New Zealand Bloodstock. And just going to the NZB press release on their website as well, that connections of Luella Christina, of course that's Libertania, receive an insurance policy from New Zealand Bloodstock Insurance to the value of 50,000 plus GST, so well worth winning that South Island filly of the Year series. Next race we have a look at, we're going to take you back to the top of the day, and again we're looking at a runner served to us by the Southland training partnership of father and daughter Kelvin and Amy Tyler. We're looking at Prince Albert, and as we pick them up from this far back, you can see Prince Albert, that was him back last. He's brought to the outside and he sweeps up to them very quickly under Krishna Madhu. And this a very, very good win from a horse with a lot of ability. When I spoke to Kelvin earlier today, he said, this is the best horse in the stable. He said, I can't believe that there's no greater interest in this horse from international owners as well. Really good win. Comes away to beat the stablemate Dunhill, who's run a really good race as well by 4.5 lengths. But that is a performance of real class from Prince Albert to kick off our day at Riccarton in the weekend. And the next target for this horse will step up to the 2,600 metres of the Great Autumn Stakes. And on that performance, he'll be awfully hard to beat as well. Matthew Cross in the commentary box giving us that one with a lot of confidence in his tips as well. So nice horse, nice performance from Prince Albert. To get you through to the 2-year-old race, and obviously this is a key lead up into the Champagne Stakes. We picked them up around about the 350 metre mark as Motion and Time, who had led up, is just caught now by Penvo's Lad on the inside. Hot favourite Q Cullen just couldn't quite quicken with Penvo's Lad. Maybe we take into account that heavy track for the 2-year-olds, but a performance of real dominance from Penvo's Lad, and he will now be the horse to beat in that Champagne Stakes. The cast on Q Cullen's effort in for second was pretty good. In Motion Time continues to run really good races using that tactical speed to be able to be put into the races, and now goes on to a stakes race as well, you'd think. But Penvo's Lad, quickest last, 800, 600, 400, 200 in a really dominant win in that race, the Reynolds Electrical 2-year-old, as we said, a key lead up into the May 7th race, which is the listed Champagne Stakes. Next up, take you to the open sprint, and we'll have a look here at Henry Hubble. So we picked them up, there's a horse just pushing Avaquinella out of the way on the bend to go up. Had won 3 in a row down south, and that was the query. How would the horse go up in Canterbury company? Well, here's a statement win for you. A really good performance from Henry Hubble. Runs the quickest last 8, 6 and 4 in the race, and then has the temerity to ease himself down in the closing stages. Avaquinella, who'd been bumped out of the way on the bend, closes really nicely to get into second position. Golden Harvest, a good run. Really nice return from Louis Luai ahead of what we've got winter racing coming up for that horse. But another terrific win from Henry Hubble. That's the end of the road, according to Sally Mackay, for this preparation for Henry. They had been considering another run in Canterbury up there in a couple of weeks' time, but Sally's just mindful about not going too far ahead in the preparation. They'll come back and target some decent races next season, maybe up further than the 1,200 metres. I talked to stewards and Sally saying we think he's actually a little bit better over more ground in the end. Just on Sally's team as well, I just wanted to and I'll bring in this New Zealand racing news story, as you can see, because it was documented earlier in the week. Palmetto takes out a $150,000 race in Hawkesbury on Saturday. Of course, not these days with Sally Mackay, but John Sargent, former Kiwi trainer, so guided this one to success now. But Sally getting a massive thrill out of this. I spoke to her about it. Said while he was winning a Dunedin Guineas, a Southland Guineas in her care, she said he was always a weak 3-year-old. She knew he'd be getting better as an older horse. And she watched on and got a huge kick out of seeing Palmetto perform so well. Second up in Australia, and she's predicting even bigger things for him now, especially as he's gotten older as a 4-year-old. So, yeah, really nice win there too. So that's a look back over some of those feature races coming through from Riccarton in the weekend. Just a quick chance to look ahead to this weekend. Obviously, South Canterbury racing. This will be just for our Thursday edition. We'll chop it out for Sunday's meeting leading into Wingatui. But a nice meeting going into Timaru. Congratulations to the team there as well. Obviously, the weather conditions have played their part, but racing on a good track, isn't that great to see? And some really good fields as well through the day. And we'll just look ahead to the Wingatui meeting. Those fields out today as we look at them here on a Wednesday as we record. Yeah, good program there as well. And Justin Evans will be part of our coverage, taking us through that meeting. 8-race card, 4:30 for the final event. I want to take you to one of the key races and just a pointer here around Jesse's Rock. So Here's a horse back second to last as we picked them up at Wingatui last time out, winning the Publicans Cup. We're actually running third in the Publicans Cup. So just tied up just in behind them, looking for a run, but closes really nicely in behind what we saw this day. Fame Shines winning, Relegated, Sea Shepherd, Exchange. So Jesse's Rock actually fourth past the post, but a really nice performance there along the inside, and should take some beating in the feature race there on Sunday. And on that point as well, it's prepared by Terry Kennedy. Spoke to Terry today because Sokonon has been exported out of the south. Terry, when I spoke to him earlier in the season, said this horse here is a three-race winner from only a handful of starts, is the best horse he'd trained. So now goes to Dan O'Sullivan. Of course, Dan trains out of Ballarat, and Terry and Debbie's daughter, Jayla, of course, apprentice to that stable. So there's a link there, and it'll be great to see Sokonon performing out of Victoria for the same owners as well, and looks to be really nicely placed there. So I'll look back on Riccarton. I look forward to Timaru and to Wingatui this week as well as we continue what is a really good period of racing in the south. That's Mainland Matters this week. Join us for the wrap on this week's racing next week.
Aim, aim, aim.